What happens when a disabled person becomes a ruthless biker destination in the Kleinstadt parking lot? You don't believe how his quiet call will change the table in unexpected ways. The late afternoon sun cast a long shadow in Jerry's roadside parking lot in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was the type of place where locals restocked for coffee and made themselves to truckers' chew before they once again encountered the highway. It was weakly worn out from the open window, but the stable total of the conversation and clinging dish was about to change outside the atmosphere. A mid-1940s man sitting in a slim black wheelchair rolled smoothly into the parking lot. His name was Leon. He wore crisp buttons and faded his jeans, moving with gentle confidence. His gaze was repaired in front of us. Leon began having late lunch after running errands, knowing he didn't want to be a goal of unnecessary attention. At the facility, a group of 5 bikers leaned over a motorcycle. Her laughter echoed and turbulent. One of them showed as she melted the other and gestured to Leon. He was the kind of guy who caught his attention without asking about his dark skin and wheelchair to make his wheelchair anomaly in her world. "Hey, Rollins Thunder!" one of them cried, his voice slashing through the room like a bad joke. Others laugh. Their laughter is medium edge. Leon couldn't be seen. He just kept going towards the diner door, focused, calm, and not entirely impressed. However, the bikers didn't want to let go. One of them pressed a cheeky smirk painted over his bike, his face, and approached Leon. The rest continued. Her boots crunched against the gravel. Leon slowed his approach and instinctively recognized the group closing behind him. He stopped near the dinner entrance, his hands floating above the edge of his bike. The biker leader, Outlaw Rebels, a stubborn man with leather vests and patches with inscriptions, approached. His smile wasn't friendly. "Hey, buddy," called out a man, dripping with rid lol. "Where is the fire? Or are you just going for a walk?" The group behind him erupted in laughter. Leon turned his head a little and met the man's eyes with a gentle expression of determination. "I just grabbed lunch," he said evenly. Another biker, a disciple and wiry, a meandering tattoo on the poor people, interfered and intervened. "What's wrong, man? I don't run above us, right?" "Ah." He imitated the movement of cycling with his hands and deserved another round of cruel laughter. Leon didn't answer this time. Instead, he set his position and prepared to go past you who are clearly not interested in the game of her game. However, when he moved, one of the bikers stepped directly into his path and blocked him. "It's not that fast," said the leader, his smile fading into the cold. "You're having a little fun, right?" There was no need to be rude for a while, and the atmosphere felt difficult. Several patrons at the diner looked out the window, but no one dared to intervene. Leon looked at the biker in front of him, and then saw the others who formed a loose semicircle around him. Nevertheless, he showed no fear. Leon clearly said, his voice was full of authority enough to bring the man to a break. However, it was clear that she had not retreated. Instead of responding, Leon reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. His movements were slow and intentional, but they were not noticed. A fusion of guide food stalls. "Who are you calling?" he barked. "Police don't do much here." However, Leon's gentle appearance did not fluctuate. He chose, called the phone to his ear, and only said a few words before he lay down. The bikers swapped restless looks, but they didn't realize what was coming. Leon put the phone back in his pocket without words. The biker leader blinked, trying to read his expression. "What was that? Do you think you're afraid of us?" Leon didn't answer. He didn't have to do that. Instead, he cycled a chair for a few meters, resting on the wall of his meal, as if he had always had in the world. His gentle tranquility only encouraged her frustration. "What? Do you have a backup coming?" Another biker joked, his laugh at the nervous edge. The others closed, but it was forced. Something about Leon's gentle self-confidence began to eat. A few minutes have passed. The bikers moved restlessly, and their courage began to crack. "Man, I don't like it," I muttered, but the leader quickly silenced him with glare. Then it happened. Low slosh in the distance. It was strong at first and barely noticeable, but it was loud and loud every time. The unmistakable engine roar filled the air, cutting through the problematic silence of parking. The motorcycle convoy came into view and their heads were heading towards Main Street as they could see their chrome in the late afternoon under the sun. The view was enough to breastfeed the biker. The convoy was dozens of drivers wearing black leather and helmets. They moved as one and attracted attention in their present days. Leon saw his face unreadable. He hadn't said anything since his call, but now a weak smile was played in the corner of his lips. The fleet headed precisely to the parking lot and set up bicycles and soldiers preparing for the battle. The former biker leader has taken a step back. His self-confidence collapsed when he muttered. But he already knew the answer deep inside. Performance dynamics shifted, with no back. The driver's convoy got off the motorcycle in almost harmony, and the boots hit the gravel with a steady rhythm. They moved without words, no screams either. Everyone wore a hint of gentle authority. Their leather jackets were donated with a patch of the street guardian. Inscription. The fleet leader, a great man with a silver beard and permeable eyes, performed. He quickly searched the scene and landed on Leon. "Like, brother?" Leon nodded slightly, his expression still composed. "I'm now," he replied. The man with silver turned his attention to the biker who abused Leon. Recently, the cheeky and unruly group looked like deer were now caught in their headlights. The former biker leader gathered courage and tried to blow his heart away. "What is that?" The guardian leader took an impressive presence, one step closer to bringing the man to a contract. "This is about respect," he said evenly. His tone carries the weight of someone who was not used to repeating himself. Something you clearly don't understand. Other legal guardians easily fanned and formed a protective semicircle around Leon. The original bikers looked at each other and their self-confidence continued, which was run every second. One of them, a wiry young man with a tattoo, tweeting, "We mean nothing. Just play." However, the guardian leader did not buy it. He fucked his arm on his chest and said, "Make? It's not playing around with the trouble of men in a wheelchair." It slammed the leader's words violently, and for the first time the biker had nothing to say. The silence seemed deafening, but only through the weak sound of the diner's door as a strange audience could we see what had happened. The original biker leader was swallowed up in large quantities, and his previous smile now becomes a distant memory. He looked at the crew and wanted a backup, but her eyes shaking and avoided him. The guards are decided. Their presence is overwhelming, and their silence may be faster than all the threats were. Leon finally spoke. His voice calmed down, but he slacked off like a knife. "You thought I was alone, he didn't?" He took a break and calmed the weight of his words. "That's what it means for people like you. They only choose those who believe they cannot protect themselves." Silberbart Wechter was proud of Leon's expression. He turned to the biker. He said, "Now it's going to happen here. You apologize to this guy. Then they go outside and don't pull this type of stunt again. Every time. Would you like to clarify?" A. The biker leader opened his mouth to argue, but the constant, unwavering view of the guard stopped him. He hesitated, then muttered, "Aye, yes. Got it. Sorry." Leon raised his eyebrows. "It didn't sound like you mean that." The guard leaned forward, and his voice just so far has been auctioned off by another man. "You mean it's better." The apology is back, this time loudly. "Sorry," the leader said, looking at Leon, then looking at the ground. Others muttered half their hearts, but their courage was completely gone. Leon nodded once. "Sorry, But remember that there is no second chance to correct this mistake. When the bikers returned to the motorcycle, the guards stopped still and observed until the group ran, rushing to humiliate their previous arrogance. The parking lot was quiet again, and tension finally rose. Leon turned the Silver Bear man and reached out. "Thank you," he said. The man holds Leon's hand tightly. "Brothers at any time. You're not alone. Please remember that the fleet began assemble the bikes, and the rumblings of the engines filled the air again. But this time it wasn't a sound of terror. It was solidarity, a memory of the fact that strength holds hand in numbers and that it is always important to stand up against injustice." As the last guard turned his engine and came out of the parking lot, Leon caught up slowly, chasing the weight of the last few minutes off his shoulder. He could still hear the weak totals of the bikes far away. This is a sound that now had a more sense of victory than threat. A very quiet dinner some time ago, now full of new energy as customers returned to their meals and exchanged whispering conversations. Leon rolled the diner door and removed his movements. He was an even more memory that worsened in life, and today it was always the right choice to be decided in the face of hatred and cruelty. Inside, the waitress, a middle-aged woman with short blonde hair, gave him a soft smile as he entered. "Are you all wrong?" she asked, her eyes searching for signs of trouble. Leon answered her smile, and his tone was warm. "Yes, everything is going well now. There was a bit of a misunderstanding." She raised her eyebrows but didn't press him against her. "I'm glad I heard it. You're common, right?" he replied as he sat in his usual position. Leon couldn't help thinking about the short encounter. The bikers thought they could threaten him, that they could take advantage of his obstacles. But they didn't expect one thing. Leon wasn't just a man in a wheelchair. He was part of a larger community that didn't hesitate to face him if the need arises. Silberbarda was right. It wasn't just an apology. It was about the news. To demonstrate that unity gives power and that a person can make a difference in the perspective of intimidation. Leon stood firm, and he reminded the people around him that it was not something they could endure naturally, but because they were faithful to what they were, regardless of the circumstances. It was a lesson not just for bikers, but for everyone who saw it. No one should be underestimated, regardless of their background or circumstances. And ultimately, friendliness and respect always outweigh fear and cruelty. When the waitress brought her coffee, Leon took a sip and felt the warmth spread through it. For the first time that day, he felt a sense of peace. He didn't have it because he had to fight, but because he remained loyal to himself, and he was urging others to do the same.